Alright, welcome back. It's Q2, week 7, day 5. Today we are going to do some skinning. We're going to do some skinning animation. We already did the animation. So now today we're doing the skinning modifier. The skinning modifier is pretty awesome. It takes time to get good, but we are going to talk about skin weight preferences, skinning, creating equal weighting on things like the crotch, and how to mirror the weight data at the end, because really we only want to do half the work we want to do. This is where we left off yesterday at the end of day 4. I'm actually going to save this as day 4 end. Save. Yes. Okay, so that's day 4 end, which is also save as day 5 start. Save. Okay, good. So today we're going to add a skinning modifier. Now, up until now, we've had this locked, and that's good. So we're actually going to turn the table here. We're going to go to Manage Layers, and we're going to freeze our bone layer and unfreeze our mesh layer. We want to see both of them, but we don't want to actually touch them. All right. Now our object, our skin, our mesh here, our polygon, we're going to add a modifier. So skinning is just a modifier, just like any other modifier. Go ahead and select up there, type in SK, and it's the next one down. I guess you could also click up there, SKI. I just type in SKIN usually, and I get it. Now the skinning modifier will require more real estate, so go ahead and pull that over. And we're going to go through some of all these options here. Okay, we are going to actually use envelopes. We're going to edit envelopes. So we're going to start out here in the top part where it says parameters. We're actually going to select each individual vertex and individually weight them to specific bones. So we're going to start in editing envelopes. Okay, and that's great. But we can't do any of that until we add what bones we actually want to add. Alright, so this is where all the naming stuff we did earlier comes into extremely important, right? So we want to make sure we display frozen stuff, and we want to display and expand all. So here's all of our bones, and we want to select all of the bones, hold shift and select them all. Then I want to hold control and deselect the nubs. The toe nub there, head nub, we don't want that. We don't want the root nub, we don't want the forearm nub. We don't want any of these nubs because, well, they're not actually skin. So we can go ahead and hit select. And maybe, it didn't add them here, probably because it's frozen. Let's go ahead and unfreeze it so that's not the problem. Bone layer. Okay, we'll freeze it in a second. So add, display, expand all. Once again, click on the top one, hold shift, go all the way down to the bones. Shift only bones here. Alright, everything else is hidden. So get rid of the nub, select. There we go. Okay, so what we have now, you can see, and I wonder if I can freeze my bone layer now. Yeah, I think I can. Oh, no, let's see. Okay, good. So now I don't accidentally click on it. So now you can actually see these little lines with the dots on the end. Those are actually how it looks when you build it. So we've got our head, our ankle, and you can see it's already started to skin this for you. If you run your animation now, it sort of works. It looks not so great, especially when the head twists like that. But it's a start. It tried. So we're going to work with vertices. Okay, so we're actually going to select vertices. The mirror parameters we don't need yet. The gizmos we don't need. Advanced parameters we will eventually, and display we will as well. Okay, so down here under parameters, we're going to go all the way down here to the bottom where it says this little weight tool. We're going to click on that and have this open in the corner because we're going to be using this. All right. Next, we don't want to show all envelopes. We actually don't need to show any envelopes because we're not using envelope systems. We're going to be using the actual vertices themselves. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to select vertices like this. Alright, so I'm going to select all the verts in the head. Those 8. Okay, and I'm going to say, alright, head. I'm going to click on the head bone, and I can click here or I can click down here. And then I want to say all of these vertices are going to get 100% of the weight. Right? And now when I scrub through this part, the head will move as one piece. Okay? This is very, very important. Now we shouldn't really start with the head. We should probably start at the beginning of our animation. Right? Zoom. Okay, cool. So let's come down here to our toes. Once again, we are only worried about left side. We don't care about the right side right now. So I'm going to grab all of these verts, but not those. I don't really care if I grab these or not because I'm going to overwrite them later. But for now, I'm going to try and stick with it. I'm only working with left. So I'm going to find my left toe and click on it here. And all of these verts, I want to follow 100% of this bone here. So as I move this, they move like that. Okay? Now, that does not look so good. So we probably don't want all of these bones to move 100%. These bones in particular, these vertices in particular, this one and this one, should probably follow this bone a little bit. So I'm going to give it, instead of 100%, because right now this bone has 100%. See the one? This bone has 0%. I'm going to give this 25%, 0.25. That will turn the other one to 75%. And now when it moves, it doesn't crunch up quite as bad. Now what I like to do is get it to its crunchiest part and then decide how I want to deal with it, right? So I think in this case, I might want to give it almost 50%. Basically, I just keep looking at it until I think I've sort of made the best choice. There. I think that's as good as it's going to get. Alright, cool. And then I keep going. Alright, so now I'm going to grab these four down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they are going to need to follow the ankle. Alright? At least a little bit. It looks like some of them are. Now, for verts selected, it gives you a general idea of how much they're following it. Now, for now, I want them to follow the ankle by 100%. When they do that, it looks like that. That's pretty good. These back ones could probably do a little less. They could probably follow the knee. And you can see it's actually set, so it's following the knee at 0%. So at some point it was following a little bit. I think I'm going to give it like 10%. Now, look at that. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Same thing, and I just keep going. So this section here, right now is 100% with the knee, but I probably want a little bit of ankle there. So I'll give it 10% of the ankle. So how does that look? That looks pretty good. See it stretching a little bit. Looks a little more natural. It doesn't quite get so bad. All right, same thing with this vertex and this vertex. All right. Right now it's 100% on the ankle, but I probably want to give it a little bit of the knee. So I'll click on the knee, give it like 10%, see how that looks. Right through there. Maybe give it 25% instead. Now those are just simple, straight up numbers. Right? I like that. I think that direction looks pretty good because it stretches a bit, but it still looks pretty good. All right, now here comes the big mamma jamma. All right, at the knee joints. At the knee joints, there's a general way to set this up. At the bottom knee joint, these four are going to follow this by 100%. For now, all right, these top four are going to follow the thigh by 100%. For now, these middle four right here are going to go 50-50. So I'm going to give them. So right now they're 100% up, the up leg. So I'm going to click here and give them 50%. So now they're going 50-50. All right. Now you're going to have some crashing. Crashing is when geometry crashes into another part of geometry. Now if you bend your own leg, it looks like it crashes into each other anyway. So some of that's going to be okay. But we're going to want to adjust some of that as well. All right. So I think I want this to follow a little more. See, what I like to do is get it to where it's bent pretty bad and then see if I can adjust it so it looks a little better. So I'm going to go maybe for the thigh here. I'm going to bump that up to 75%. Okay, and see how that looks. All right. All right. And this here, instead of 100% for that, let's grab the top part and give it like 25. See how that looks. Now, the problem is you got to be careful because sometimes you get this weird spaghetti looking knee. Or, you know, these joints that look like they're really, really sort of stretchy. And that's not what we want. So right now, let's see, let me get that one. I'm going to give it 25% of this lower leg. There, that's starting to get better. Now be careful because see how it's pulling in like that? See how it looks a little weird? If we had more geometry, we could get away with it. But we don't. So maybe instead of, where are we at here? Let's click on this one and give it 90. That's probably better. Same thing with the bottom. Go down here. I'm grabbing the bottom, I'm grabbing the knee joint now, clicking the knee joint and making sure it has 90%. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Once again, it's one of those things where you're going to have to always sort of play with it. This joint in particular, the knees and stuff like that, you can give, I'm going to give it the top by 10, and the same here. This is going to get the bottom by 10%. So it's mostly moving with one and slightly moving with the other. Positioning our bone in a better spot might have helped a little bit to get the joint moving. Like I probably should have put the bone a little bit further back in the leg. That would have helped out some of this issue. Having more geometry helps as well. So, but either way, it's a good start. So that looks fine for now, especially with what we're doing today. Now, when we kick up, you'll see we have a lot of weird twisting going on. I would say the entire top of the leg, because of the way we've built it, should go with the thigh, with the up leg. So I'm just going to hit boom. So it's going to go 90% or 100%. Now, I also think that this portion, this bottom section here, should only move slightly with the upper leg. And when I mean slightly, I mean very slightly, like 10%. That's still probably way too much, because I want it to move 100% with the root. That looks better. And then give it 10% of the leg. 10%. And then we might even lower that down, because you can actually adjust it. Alright, cool. See how that moves just a little bit? It gives you the concept of, this looks bad. This top part looks bad. That will go to here by like, I don't know, 100%. There. There we go. Okay, front. Alright, moving right along. Perspective. Cruising. Alright, cool. Once again, we don't really care about the other side. The only time we do care about the side is right here. When we're looking at geometry like this, when we're doing our splits, what I like to do, usually there's geometry down the center that we have to worry about. In this case, I would like all of these to follow this by 50%. Okay, so I'm going to highlight all of these verts, and I should have 4. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I want them to follow this by 50%. In order to do that, I'm going to select the whole thing and give it 100%. Now I'm going to select just these, select this bone. So I should have 2 verts selected, select that bone, and it's going to follow this thigh by, let's say, 10%. Alright, and these 2 are going to follow this thigh by 10%. There. And now that those are split evenly, I can also give this 25%, and it will be evenly split for all of those vertices. So it should be, it's one of those things that's kind of confusing until you do it a little bit. But once you do, you'll sort of get the hang of it pretty quickly. Now, as we keep moving, this bone, these are pretty obvious. They'll be going 50 with this, so 50 with that, and 50 with this. So now all the weird stretching should be gone. This stuff, notice it's twisting with a thigh, and I don't want it to do that. So I find the up leg, hit 0, and now it will not do that anymore. I'm not too worried about that side actually, but just in case. There we go. Alright. once again, these will be moving 50 with this and 50 with this. Cool. So now all 4 of these verts should move equally with both. Now, up here, these 2 are going to need to be affected by this clavicle by a lot. For now, we're going to give it like it's already set to 100%. But I also want it to be affected by the arm somewhat, like maybe 10%. Okay, and I also may want it to be affected by this by a little bit, maybe 10%. Right now, notice it gets 10% because I'm adding 10%. So if I really want it to have exactly 10%, what I need to do is I need to make sure these 2 are equal to 50% and then add this at 90. So what I'm going to do is make this one 100, make this one 50. So now both of these are 50. Now I can select this and give it 90, and it automatically divides the rest between the 2 because they were equal before. So now our head is moving. So now I get that sort of little bit of twisting action. Looks good. That looks bad, but that's not what we're working on. Alright, great. Good, good. Good, good, good. Alright, cool. Now, arms. Ugh, my computer fell down again. Alright, so arms. We need to look at this bone here, and we really need to look at these verts right here. So these 4 verts need to follow this arm pretty much 100%. Right? That way they stay relatively equal. Now they're going to crash into the body a little bit, and that's okay. If we want, we can actually take these 4 and give them to the clav. Notice I clicked up here by like 25%. So now when it moves, they sort of bend in a little bit, and they bend out when it goes up. So they want to stick to the clav a little bit more, and that's okay. Once again, for the top, go to the top view and do that. So this bone will give these 4 verts will get 100% of that bone, which they already have, and let's give them 10% of this bone. These verts will get 50-50. Right now it's on forearm. 50, and here we'll give it 50. Okay, and these will get 10% of that bone, and 90%. Actually, I should probably do 100, and then 10, because that will actually give me the 10% I want. There we go. I did it wrong. 100% of those, and then 10% of that. Alright, good. Alright, great. So when that bends in, we have the same sort of situation where we're going to have to sort of blend this through a little more. We can adjust that. We could set them all to 100 and then give them 50-50 if we wanted to. See how that looks. Where is it? There we go. Now see, that's the problem I was telling you about. How it gets spaghetti. See how that looks weird? It looks better when it crashes in on each other. Right? So instead of doing that, I'm going to select these and give it 100% of that bone. And these are going to get 100% of this bone. And then when it crashes in on each other, it'll just look okay. And we could, like I said, we could give it a little more. We could give it, let's do 25 of this one and 25 of this one. Let's see how that looks. It spaghettis in a little bit. It's up to you. Feel free to play around with that and see what you like. It's probably better to do 1 and 10 for that, and then 1 and 10 for the other. So 1 and 10. Just give it a little bit of motion. But that's it. We've reached the end. So now, what you can do is you can hit front, go back, watch all your animation, make sure everything looks relatively good. Then we can turn off edit envelopes, go up to mirror parameters, turn on, actually, edit envelopes has to be on, turn on mirror mode, and we've worked with the left side, which is blue. You can see it's color coded. Now, since our object is 100% symmetrical, we can actually just mirror, we can paste blue to green, which is right here on the end. Boom. Now, the entire animation, all the skinning has been mirrored from one side to the other. So we don't even need to worry about doing the other side. And it's done. It's that easy. It's that easy. Turn that off. Turn that off. Go back here. Rub our animation. Scrub our animation, I should say, not rub. Scrub our animation. Watch it. And we're good to go. There we go. Looking pretty good. Right? All right. Cool, cool. So that's where we're at right now. Let's go ahead and save that. Save as. This is day 5 end. Save. Yes. All right, cool. So this is day 5 end. We've got our basic skinning finished. We used our animation to skin it, so it moves pretty good. It moves a lot better than it did initially. So we're ready to go. Next, we got to get this thing walking. All right. So thank you so much for following along, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 6 and the final day of this week plus this week's work. And then after that, you'll be able to do your own animating, some forward kinematic animation. All right. See you tomorrow.